Electric Fire 2 Hidden Chains Chapter 16.
My hopes of escape at the moment had faded away. Shadow pretended to be asleep for a few minutes more as we approached our destination. I was afraid mainly for my life. Now I had brought Shadow down with me. I had no idea what would happen to us once we stepped foot into the building. Whatever it was, Shadow told me about a mission that could drain my power, but I didn't think it was built here. It's not exactly Green Hills, but it isn't anywhere I knew of either. It was possible we were at Robotnik's old workplace, but I wasn't exactly sure. The truck parked and, well, the clones awoke once we arrived. My arms were tied up, so were my legs. Same went for Shadow. We were carried out by the robot clones. Pretty pathetic, right? I could tell Shadow was trying to come up with a plan. The gears were turning. He shook his head a bit every now and then, trying to concentrate as we were carried out of the parking lot into this building.
Look at it, Stone. It hasn't changed one bit since I left. It's great to be back home.
Robotic exclaimed behind us. People passed by once we were inside the building.
Yes, sir.
Something didn't seem right. Had they gotten their jobs back? I didn't want to know the answer to that, but it was clearly a yes. We were taken to the lab part of the building, just what I feared. Me and Shadow could talk, but we didn't. We were taken to a small room in the lab, set down a table. Sitting up was a challenge for the both of us due to the bindings. It was unclear on what Eggman wanted to do with us. Well, for now. A monitor appeared above Shadow and scanned him before vanishing. My guess was Eggman was going to make a robot army based off Shadow or maybe something else. A monitor then came towards me. This was a little different from the previous one. This one stayed on me, giving me glimpses on what the man was going to do. I didn't like it one bit. I looked back at Shadow, wanting to look away from the horrors on the screen. Ears lowered. I was terrified on what would happen to me if I were to stay in that lab. I had to get the bindings off, but they were tight. I decided to try something I saw in movies. Sure, the glass bottle trick didn't work, but hopefully this would. I looked around the table a bit. At least I could turn on my sides. With enough effort, I was able to notice a lever on my left side. Now to see if I could line up the rope that was keeping my arms together. I was able to get the rope over it, but then something else happened, something I hadn't foreseen. Robotic entered the room just as I struggled with the lever. He was alone this time. Just as I looked over, there was a click sound. The rope didn't break, but in that split second, the table I was on sprang up a little more. Shad was surprised as I was launched up in the air. It was like a spring had gone off. The rope must have hit the lever just right, because I was tossed up. The rope loosened, and I was lunged toward Robotic. Definitely not what I had in mind. The rope was taken clean off my arms, but my legs still had rope. Robotic didn't have enough time to dodge. He was just as dumbfounded as I was. I couldn't believe something I had seen in a movie actually worked. Well, sort of. Anyway, of course I landed on top of Robotic, but he threw me off pretty easily. So I ended on the floor, adding more injuries, even a rug burn from the carpet. It wasn't like the whole floor was carpeted, but there was a fairly large carpet near another door that led into this room, and that's where I was tossed toward. The door was locked, though. I sat up and quickly untied the rope that kept my legs together. I allowed myself to unleash some sparks of lightning in defense, telling Eggman to keep away or he'd get a taste of my power again. Shadow kept his gaze on me. He showed concern once again, but then he decided to try and look for a lever on the table he was on. Instead of a lever, he found a knob underneath the table. Eggman started to approach me. Neither of us spoke, but then our gaze went to Shadow. His table collapsed. He got the rope off at least. The electricity still flowed from my quills. I couldn't lower my defenses. Robotic's focus was turned back to me. He didn't seem to care on what Shadow was doing. He mainly wanted me. He then showed me this remote with a button on it. Shadow was able to untie the rope on his legs. Metal Sonic was summoned when Eggman pushed the button. Shadow's metallic version followed behind. I wasn't sure if we could fight them. They beat the both of us last time, but I was still determined to fight.
I managed to untie the rope, but then Metal Sonic was in front of me. I figured I'd stall it, at least until I could get to Sonic safely, then teleport out of here. But right now, I wouldn't make it to him since Robotnik and the android were closing in on him. I knew he could take care of himself, though. I just need to save some energy in order to get us to somewhere safe. Maybe to the police station or to Carl's house. We could use Tails' help on this one, it seemed. I thought I could take on Metal Sonic. He seemed easier than the fake me. I smirked a bit as Metalsonic approached me. He was ready to fight, but he wasn't prepared when I kicked him hard in the stomach area. I caused a crack to appear on him. He fell back a bit, but he staggered to his feet quickly and tossed a punch my way. But I ducked under him because his fist could make contact with my jaw. I circled around and kicked him in the back of the head. He fell face first into the floor. Taking out Metalsonic wasn't an easy task. I underestimated his power by now. Robotnik and that fake hedgehog had closed in on Sonic, and here I was, still fighting Metal. Metal taking a hit to the back didn't do much to stop him. Not even hitting him to the floor, face first kept him coming at me. I dodged his punches and kicks, well, most of them. He did kick me down a couple of times, but I put in more hits on him than he did on me. He mainly got scratched up and a few cracks here and there, but nothing was holding him back. He didn't stop. I couldn't give up, though. No matter what, I had to get Sonic out of here. Next thing I knew, Sonic and Robotnik and that clone of me were gone, out of sight. I couldn't believe it. I failed. A punch to my jaw snapped me back to reality, though. Metalsonic was on top of me already to give me the final blow, to knock me out. Seriously, what kind of ultimate life form am I? I couldn't save Maria. Now I couldn't save Sonic, the one who helped me get my memory back, the one who tried to save me. I let out a battle cry before shoving Metalsonic away from me. I decided now was a good time to use Chaos Spear. I launched several at Metalsonic. They mainly left small dents. He was down though, but I knew he wouldn't stay down for very long. But then I allowed a larger spiel to materialize in the palm of my hand. I stood over Metalsonic. He was about to get up when I stabbed him in the head, using the spear. I knew Robotnik could easily repair it. I decided to keep the spear in there. It didn't go all the way through the metal. It was too hard to break through all the way, but Metal's left eye was messed up with a Chaos Spear through it. I left the area to see where Robotnik had taken Sonic, but once outside the room, I remembered how big the building was. This would take hours, and it wasn't like I had that kind of time. The spear vanished by now. I could already feel the energy returning to me. I decided to go back to the room where we were in to investigate the area, thinking maybe Robotnik had left some kind of clue as to where he and that faker went with Sonic. But there was nothing. But then I noticed a door that led to a desk and an office chair. This looked like stone style. It was a small office area with a small counter. A window was over the counter. I wasn't interested in seeing the view though, since I had a mission. A coffee maker, some paper cups with paper lids. Then there was a small fridge next to the desk. The room was kept fairly clean. Stone wasn't here, so I assumed I'd scope out the office for any clues. I sat down in the chair to find a laptop opened up on the desk. A small sack of papers were there along with a cup of pens and pencils. There was also an automatic pencil sharpener on the counter. I looked at the computer. It was open to the desktop. I sighed and looked around a bit, no sign of life. I didn't see anyone, so I proceeded to use the mouse and go to this search bar and typed in files. I clicked the first one that came up, and well, there was a lot in it. It would have taken a long time to go through. I didn't want Sonic to wait for so long for his rescue party. I had to act fast. I closed out the tab, which was easy. I decided to look around the desktop screen for anything that said email. I glided the mouse over to each app before I found the email. I clicked on it. A new tab came up. All of them had been read, it seemed. Then I noticed one that hasn't been. How did I miss it? It was the first one. It was white instead of gray. I knew this is the clue I had. It said urgent and nothing else. so I clicked the unread message.
Stone, come up to the 14th floor in the operating room. I need some assistance with the Blue Hedgehog. He isn't cooperating very well. I can't perform any tests on him at the moment. It's hard to hold him down. Even my shadow android is having trouble. He's missing an arm. Well, not exactly missing, but it got thrown to the side. I won't let him use his weapons in case he damage our blue friend. The real Shadow is busy fighting Metal Sonic at the moment. I highly doubt he could take him on. After all, he and Sonic lost to their robotic counterparts earlier. And I think you left your phone in the locker. Again, I called you 3 times only to get your voicemail.
I was relieved that Sonic was handling himself. I now know where to find him. I just had to get to the 14th floor, which was easier said than done. I had to find a map of the layout of the building. I had thought Robotnik wanted to drain Sonic of his power, but maybe he expected that I had told him that, so he scrapped the plan and decided to do something else. I exited the room only to dart behind a dark corner. Stone was heading back from wherever he had been this whole time. I stayed in the shadows as he walked past, not noticing me. I didn't have time for this. I watched as he went into the room I had just come out of. I darted out of the darkness and up some steps before coming across what I was looking for. Oh, finally, I can get Sonic. The map was right there on the wall. As you get to the top of the 2nd floor of the building. This went up 15 floors, it seems. Great, and I'm on the 2nd floor. The elevator would be the quickest. People brushed past me as I searched for where the closest elevators were located. They were nowhere near the rest of the room areas. Floor 1 to 5 were office areas. 6 had a small library. 7 and 8 were break rooms, large ones. 9 to 14 were lab areas. The 50 was the rooftop observation area. At first, the people paid no mind to me as I headed for the elevators. This was a strange building. It wasn't like any labs I've seen, if that's what this place is. I darted past not very many people. Some gave me questioning looks, but now here I was in front of an elevator. I watched as some people pushed a button, then waited. Then a second or so later, a ding was heard, and a door opened. The person stepped in, then the door closed behind them. Not long after they were inside it, I went to do the same as them. I had forgotten how to use one of these. The Ark didn't have this, but I remembered going down one with some gun agents before I was put into isolation. I saw them do this. I was able to push the up button at least, but once inside the elevator, well, the 14th button was out of my reach. Just my luck. I let out a sigh as the door closed behind me. I was alone and trapped in this stupid elevator. I tried jumping for the button, but as luck had it, I was taken to the wrong floor. Darn it, guess I should have went for the stairs, I said to myself. The elevator music was kind of painful to listen to. Even for a few seconds, I was taken to where the library floor is. I stayed where I was, though, instead of getting out. I didn't want to waste more time looking for the stairs. It was already hard enough to get to Sonic as it is.